Okay, we'll get started, guys. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our latest Micromine webinar, Geobank, when minor changes lead to major improvements. My name's Ryan Sylvester. I'm the Global Marketing Executive here at Micromine, and I'm looking forward to hosting you over the next half an hour for what will no doubt be a great discussion about Geobank. Micromine develops the most intuitive, innovative, commercially advanced and affordable solutions available within the marketplace. Micromine's research and development program is managed by experienced specialist staff that understand the industry and can anticipate the market's needs. Significant in-house knowledge is complemented by continual input from the company's global client base, ensuring the solutions remain relevant and continue to meet and preempt the needs of the global mining and exploration sector. Our significant investment into R&D also allows Micromine to empower clients through software that offers a positive user experience via intuitive, feature-rich functionalities and interpretive capabilities. So today we have joining us to provide an overview of Geobank and the new features, Geobank Product Strategy Manager Mark Gabbitus. Mark is a geologist with an honours degree in applied geology from the University of Leicester in the UK. Mark moved to Australia in 1995. He has worked in various gold mines in WA and the Northern Territory for 7 years before moving into the mining software industry. He has held various positions at a number of vendors over the last 15 years, including Technical Services Manager, Business Development Manager and Product Manager. His key focus is on simplifying the user's experience with software to the point where they can concentrate on doing their job rather than managing the software they use. We also have with us Geobank Operations Manager Derek Vincent. Derek Vincent is the Operations Manager overseeing Geobank projects and services in Micromine's offices around the globe. Derek has been with Micromine for 5 years, and prior to this he was working in the data management and consulting field. So we'll dedicate the final 10 minutes of today's webinar to Q&A. Remember, you can use the Q&A box on the left-hand side of your screen at any time to submit a question. So we'll kick off with Mark. So Mark, you've been the Product Strategy Manager for Geobank for about 8 months now. How have you found the role?
Hey Ryan, and hello everyone. Yeah, it's been a really interesting role coming into it. 8 months ago there was a number of challenges. I had a new version of Geobank just set to go out the door, so we had to fix that up, tidy that up and get it out the door. So working with the marketing team and the development team, the operations team to get Geobank 2017 out, which came out in January, which was great, and I've been moving on ever since, building the team and stuff.
That's great to hear. I think we can all certainly see some of the positives in the group since you've joined, which has been great to see. Can you talk us through some of the changes you've made to the improved Geobank since you started?
I think the biggest change has been on the development side. We've made a commitment when I started to build the Geobank development team, and we're actively engaged in a talent search right now both here in Perth and in our Moscow office. We've also built up the QA side of the team. When I started, we asked our users, both internal and external, what their main issues with Geobank were, and the overriding response that they needed new builds of Geobank to be stable. Clients were often holding off on installing a new build or a bundle until a service pack came out, which wasn't great. So we really wanted to make people comfortable in the product they were using. So getting those QA guys, embedding them in the development team, has allowed us to stay on top of the releases and the tickets. In fact, in the last 8 months or so, we've fixed over 700 QA issues, which has been fantastic. Another thing that we've done is we've done quite a bit of team training. So we've taken the programmers and the QA guys out in the field, both to site and to laboratories, so they can actually see what's happening in the field rather than just being sat in an office. So our goal is really to have 0 defects in releases in the future. Is that achievable? Who knows, but you've got to have a target. So but that's what we're going to work towards.
So apart from the stability of the group, what else have clients highlighted to you?
The next priority that we found, again, both internally and externally, was usability. We've got two great products in the business unit, Geobank and Geobank Mobile. Got great features, got great functions, but sometimes the user experience isn't as nice as it could be. So we've put a number of processes in place and projects to address this.
And we've noticed you've started to invite different departments from the business to your sprint reviews. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so we develop on a 2-week sprint cycle. This is one of the changes we've made recently, and this allows us to be far more agile in our development. And it's really good to get people from marketing, from sales, from operations to come into these meetings, and gives us a different perspective on the design and the usability of the product. Sometimes when you head down in the product, you can't see the really obvious issues. So you get someone who is outside of the product to come in, and they can identify those usability issues. When I started in the role, as I said, we went and asked a lot of people things that they wanted, things they wanted to see. I actually did a trip over to Russia and saw a few clients over there. And the common response we got from a lot of people was that our graphic reports, whilst they were really powerful, perhaps it took a long time for people to set them up and to edit them. So we engaged in a little project over the last few months where we've been getting the development teams to tidy up some really, as we said in the headline, minor issues, but they're leading to major improvements. They're making people's work experience a lot better. So as I was saying, we've been spending quite a bit of time on the graphic reports, and we will switch over to Derek right now, who's going to run us through some of those issues. So if you just bear with us for a second while we transfer over to Derek, that'd be fantastic. So Derek's going to run us through some of the new features in graphic reports that we've put in over the last few months. Hopefully these are going to be really interesting to people. Okay, great.
What I want to show you is some of the work we've done on graphic reports. And as Mark and Ryan said, our theme for today is where minor changes lead to major improvements. One of the things, just discussing the development team, is we have labels that we use on various issues, and one of those labels is one we call quick win, where we believe that something requires not a great deal of effort but provides a lot of value to users. So before going into the graphic reports, what I'd like to show you is a new feature we've added in Configuration Manager, again for the purpose of helping users who are working with Geobank to be able to work efficiently. We've introduced the concept of folders. So within a category of tasks in Geobank, such as data views, you can add in a folder. So for example, I could put a folder called Under Construction. And then I could take data views and drag them into that folder. So now inside my data views, I can organize things into particular folders. So as you can see, that's really useful in terms of managing what is the objects that you're working on versus the object that you've already released to your users to use. I'll now move on to graphic reports. So there's our graphic report designer, and the first thing we've done is we've introduced a grid which I'm sure you'll be familiar with. So this icon up here, we click on the icon and it shows a grid behind the graphic report. This grid is adjustable, so you can have larger or smaller grid sizes, and within that you can choose whether or not to snap to grid. So if I turn snap to grid off, objects that I select just move anywhere. If I turn snap to grid on, objects move with the grid. This is obviously really good in aligning objects with one another and making them of consistent sizes. So these graphic columns here, we're all using the grid feature to make sure they are 15 millimeters wide in each case, because this grid is set to 5 millimeters. Another thing we've done is looking at how selection works, and when you select templates, and how easy that is to do. So one of the things we've changed is when you have a number of overlapping objects. So we've got 4 different graphs shown here. They're obviously sitting one behind the other in the design sheet. Previously, you would have had to use your selection tool, go completely around the objects. Now you can simply select like that with any objects. Then this tool enables you to see what you've selected. So I've selected my 4 charts. I've also selected the log that I don't want to select. So unselect that. I've now got those 4 selected, at which point I can move them around in unison. So selection and alignment of objects comes a lot quicker. We also have the ability to invert the selection. So I've got those 4 selected. If I want to select everything else, I click there and then I've selected everything on the report except those objects I've selected. So that type of typical behavior you see with in Windows when you're selecting things, we're bringing in that intuitive behavior to Geobank. The next thing is we've introduced sub-reports in reports. So this object here is a sub-report. So one of the benefits of this is that when you are doing a report for a plotter, so this particular graphic report, on this drill hole it goes down to 72 meters. If I move on to the next drill hole in the series, it's a lot longer. So the graphic report expands for the plotter and the legend remains at the bottom of the report. So that's really useful because the legend is coming in as a sub-report. This also enables you to put in multiple legends at the bottom of a graphic report page and avoids the need to have legends repeated on every single page if you're not running through to plotter. There's other simple changes, like when we are adding in a text label. I give this text label the name drill hole log and go OK. Immediately that text label appears here with drill hole log. Now the way that works is that in the properties of that text label, in the annotation, we use what we call a system variable to say that the text we display there should be the name of the object. So that just saves probably 4 or 5 clicks and additional typing when setting up multiple labels. So it's these minor changes that, when added together, save a lot of time. We've introduced, as well as hatch patterns that have been in Geobank for many years, we've introduced color sets so that you're able to color a field based on a range. So this weathering column is colored based on the values and the range of values. to show you how that works, I'll open a different graphic report. Okay, let's go back to, this is set up in where symbology is set up. We have symbology here. We've introduced color sets. Inside here, you have color sets. So what I'll do is add in a color set for let me just show you simplest. I'll show you the weathering legend that we set up there. So the possible values for weathering go up to 6 or 7, depending, 0 being highly weathered rock, and 6, 7, 8 going down to being the bedrock, which has got no evidence of weathering. So we show that as a darkening scale. This could be changed if we select, let's say we don't want to use that color there. We can go through and use, let's say, a dark blue color. And then you have the ability to take a set of data and build the values, and then apply a color set to it. So I'll leave that there. We'll make a new one. So let's say we're using something for percentage. We want to go from 0 to 100, and then we want the color for 0 to be yellow, the color for 100 to go through to blue, like that. We select those. You can either choose a range to move from yellow to blue in a gradient, or as a spectrum and move through there. So if we choose the spectrum and we click on gradient, it'll now go from yellow through to blue, going through green in the spectrum. If we choose range and do the gradient, it goes directly from yellow to blue by combining those two colors. So there's different ways that you can build these color sets and then apply them in various places. These can be used in graphic reports. They can also be used in data views. So in the data view here, I've got depth represented as a color scale as the depths down the hole increase. We've also introduced that in other areas where symbologies are previously able to use. So in plan views and section views. So this is a simple section diagram where we have this column colored by depth, so again darkening as we go down deeper, and similarly we've got a color range on the seams to show you the different coloration on seams. That's also in depth adjust and graph and the select queries. Then the last thing I want to show you before we open up for questions is just a simple graphic report reload feature. Right, this is showing plan and section views for a drill hole, but as you can see, nothing is shown. The reasons nothing is shown is because I haven't yet completed the desurvey process for this project. So if I leave my graphic report open, run my desurvey process, okay, that's now processed the 2 surveys that I requested. I go back to here, and for those drill holes now, without having to close and reopen the graphic report, it's immediately picked up that new data that wasn't there previously prior to running the desurvey. Okay, so that's an overview of some of the improvements we've added within graphic reports, and this is a thing we continuously doing, and we very much value your input as to small things which you feel could make a major improvement.
Thanks for that, Derek. Those features look really impressive, and it's good to see them in action. So Mark, can you tell us what else is going on in Geobank at the moment?
So we've got a massive program of features that we're developing, stretching forward for the next 3 years, but the key ones that we're working on right now, I don't want to go for a lot of detail and I can talk to you, but we're developing a new importer, again, all based around that usability, so enabling you to import any data into Geobank easily and manage that process. Form control, this is something we've been asked for a long time, and being able to design your own forms to control how you use Geobank in many ways, whether it's data entry or whether it's controlling substitution parameters for a data view, for example. Geospatial data, so we've got had a lot of requests to be able to store geospatial data within the data model. We're doing some work to tidy up and redesign the database model that we supply with Geobank. This is going to be especially important to new clients, a key target for us. Obviously, graphic reports, and we're doing a lot of work in Geobank Mobile. So as you can see, we've got, that's just the tip of the iceberg on the work that we have on our roadmap. Some other things, we're looking at cloud data storage. So Geobank Mobile will now already connect to the Azure database if you want to set one up, which is really neat, and we want to move Geobank into that world as well. We've got a couple of other smaller usability type projects as well. So as you see, we've been doing this work on graphic reports, but we've got some other areas that we're working on over the next year or so.
Cool. So we'll wrap it up there. Thanks to Mark and Derek for what was a really great presentation. It was really informative, and I think everyone's really excited to see what's to come for Geobank. It looks like we've received a couple of questions. The first one, what about charts, Mark? They obviously take a lot of effort as well.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So in light of the graphic reports usability, we've also put a project in place to do have a look at some of the charting tools. This has been a big request from clients. So one of the things that we're doing with these projects is we're assigning one of our ops people to be a business analyst to liaise with the clients, ask the questions, and actually help the development team to move forward. So we're really trying to join the worlds of the user and the developer together a lot closer than we had in the past. Yeah, that's definitely on the cards.
Great. Is there any more questions out there from anyone on the webinar? Looks like we've got another one here around Geobank Mobile and usability. What are the plans around this product?
Yeah, Geobank Mobile, obviously one of our key products. We're continuously developing. We're actually doing a lot of behind the scenes work on it right at the moment to make it a more usable product. But we've had a lot of requests for how people use it in the field. Being able to just easily switch from cell to cell, be able to use it with barcode scanners, with cameras, with external devices, and how the user experience works with that. So what we actually did was we took the programmers up to a site that uses Geobank Mobile, and we went and sat in the call shed for half a day and just saw what they were doing. And just the ideation that came out of that day on site was brilliant. We came away with a lot of really good tips and things that we're going to do.
Great. So I think we'll wrap it up there. So I'd like to thank Mark and Derek once again for the presentation, and I'd also like to thank everyone for joining us. We really hope you guys have found today's session useful. For more information and to keep up to date with all our future webinars scheduled, please visit our website. That is www.micromine.com.